Welcome to FightLine, brought to you in conjunction with Buy My Fight and Westbound Logistics Services. My name's Ben Doughty, and I'm delighted to be joined once again by my erstwhile verbal sparring partner, the one and only Spencer Fearon.
How you doing, Ben? You right?
I'm good, mate. All the best for seeing you, as the saying goes.
Stop licking my lines, man.
You know what? The only thing I would say, much as it's wonderful to see you again, is that I'm a little bit aggrieved Barry Jones is not sitting in his regular place this week because I wanted to get one over on him. We have this ongoing battle between us, 2 episodes old, between who can become the most correct and fearless prognosticator.
Okay.
Last week...
Who's winning? Who's winning, man?
Barry was winning...
I know Barry be kicking your butt, man. He's on point, man. I got to give him that, man. He's very on point.
He got off to an early lead, but last week I drew things back when my accumulator... I know you're not a gambling man, Spencer, and that's not important, but... An accumulator or often a treble when you bet on 3 results in conjunction with each other.
Okay, and he got them consecutive. You got them consecutive.
I got them consecutive. We can have a little discussion about what unfolded at the weekend at the O2. I picked Lee Selby to beat Ricky Burns on points, so he did. I picked Derek Chisora to stop David Price and Julie, he did.
So what, did Barry go against that one?
No, Barry picked Selby on points as well.
I mean about Chisora.
Chisora, he also called that correctly. He actually called it more specifically. He called it rounds 4 to 6, and he was right. I just went straight
so
KO.
Tunde Ajayi did the same thing.
This is where he fell foul, perhaps being a little bit too bold. I went for Taylor the straight win. I played it safe. I just said Josh Taylor will win anyway, anyhow.
All right.
He, in an effort to create more value in his prediction and accumulator, he tipped Taylor to win in the late stoppage. It looked like he might have achieved it at one point, but it didn't come in.
He did. You know what? I went for Taylor late stoppage originally, but then when I really sat down and thought about it, Progress is a very, very good fighter, and there could be a big argument that he actually could have got that decision if it was anywhere else bar where it was.
Do you feel that way? I think Josh definitely won it, regardless of where it was. I really do.
I know. I don't think he definitely won it. You got to think like boxing is very, very subjective.
It is, but are we getting this situation now where that becomes a justification and a charter for a multitude of incompetence and basic ignorance? People say it comes down to what you like.
Yeah,
I remember Robert Sacco said recently, I like the guy that's landing more punches than the other guy.
Yeah, but
clearly,
if we look at the shots that were being thrown, I don't know the stats of the numbers, but the numbers that were being thrown, it seemed like Josh was the busier, right? But the real classier thudding shots, hurtful shots, were actually thrown by Progress. But it was the busyness of Josh Taylor. And then in the later rounds, then Josh Taylor started to sit down these shots and he'd throw that lead left-hand power shot from his southpaw position. Yeah. And he'd go downstairs with the right hook, but then he'd come through the middle with a right uppercut. And I think it's those things would make all of the crowd like, oh.
I said ahead of time that inside prowess might be the key. I thought Taylor was better on the inside, and I think he was as it played out. And I think that possibly made the difference. As long as he is, tall, I think, and the other guy's a shorter fella, I think he is better on the inside. Almost shades of Michael Nunn on the inside.
Little bits, but you know what? Both guys should be commended.
Yeah.
I mean, I always knew there's something special about Josh Taylor. Mm-hmm. And it was nice and it was befitting that he came out as a champion then. He's only going to grow from that. Remember, he hasn't even had 20 fights. No. He hasn't even had 20 fights. So you know that he's only going to grow, and it's nice. But I think the real winner on that night, it gets very, very cliche, but the real winner was actually boxing. Absolutely. Because you had 2 men give it their all in a fantastic fight, and it was so great to see. Like, we've got a candidate. We've had 3 fights now.
7 weeks on the spin.
On a spin, but we've got candidates for Fight of the Year. And that was a candidate for Fight of the Year. It was an excellent fight. And I like the way Progress handled things afterwards, saying the better man won.
I got no problem, the better man won on the night. That was very classy. And I
love him for that,
He could have folded away from home in such a tough fight if he didn't have that kind of inner steel that he blatantly does possess.
Exactly.
And Spence, those of us who have been around a little while and we consider ourselves to have a card in the Historian Guild and we're passionate about boxing, we can sometimes be negative about what's happened to boxing and the industry in the 21st century. But I think we have to give credit when it's due. I think 2019 has been a really upbeat, good year.
It's been a great year.
Several weeks on the spin with like Spence versus Porter, Golovkin versus Deverenchenko, Robbie Davies Jr., Lewis Ritson, Josh Taylor versus Regis Prograis. Yeah. I think things are looking kind of upbeat and healthy now. People talk about the sideshow, freak show stuff, Tyson Fury, WWE, the YouTubers on the weekend after this one. Nigel Benn's come up, which has thankfully fallen at the first fence.
Yeah.
But I think we have to look at it objectively. We can't just hate, to use the modern vernacular, on the current scene. I think things, we're seeing a lot of good fights.
We're seeing excellent fights at the moment, and like we've got more good fights to look forward to in the coming months.
It's not over yet, and
It's not.
Including one we will be discussing as a centrepiece of this show. Before we move on to the main business of today, Selby versus Burns, there was a degree of contention. I know, Ricky, there was a very emotional interview with IFL TV afterwards, in which he was shedding tears.
Was that Adam McCart?
It's the Scottish fellow.
Yeah,
It was quite a nice interview. I thought
it was excellent. I thought he done a really. It was very passionate, and it was sad to see like Ricky Burns cry, especially like regardless how titles are being fragmented and all the rest of it. He's a, he
is a 3-weight world champion by today's.
Yeah, exactly. So all credit. You got to give the guy all the credit in the world, man. But it was also sad. It was sad. It was sad that there was actually a lose. That was a very good fight.
It was a good fight. Do you think the right man won? I do.
It was close, and it was the right guy did get the decision. Right. I'm not. You know what I mean? On close fights, it's not a robbery. It was a close fight.
Sure.
But the certain things that Selby did that were more appeasing to the eye.
He did typical Lee Selby.
Yeah, but it was but he knew he had to bite down. Yeah, exactly. But he knew he had to bite down his gum shoot as well, and he did that. But you know what? It's not over for Ricky Burns. And as much as we say that, what's he gonna do? It's actually not over because he's not going to fights where he's losing and he's embarrassing himself.
Not at all.
Right, so he can continue.
And people could have written him off a couple of years ago.
Yeah, of course they could have. And he's still here now. You know what I mean? So all credit in the world to Ricky Burns as well. So he's a very, very tough warrior, and he's been a fantastically gallant for British boxing. He's been really, really good, man.
So Burns has still got a little bit of stuff left in the basement, as Rocky Balboa said in that final.
Yeah. But it seems like Nigel Benn doesn't.
Nigel Benn doesn't. I don't. We could talk about that, but I don't think we should in many ways.
No, we should talk about it.
Okay, go on.
The reason why we should talk about it is because we remember the days of Nigel Benn when is it Ian Chandler? Do you remember that when he knocked out
Ian Chandler? Yeah, one of the fastest KOs.
One of the fastest KOs. Do you remember that knockout?
14 seconds.
14 seconds. And it's like
the old Mohican days.
Right, exactly. When Nigel Benn, and you know when you've made it when people have a hairstyle and it's named after you. Mm-hmm. And remember, like in that time, everyone had the Mike Tyson side parting, but you had the Nigel Benn.
Dempsey.
Yeah, I know he did. But you had the Nigel Benn with how his hair was cut was like it was like a semi Mohican, and he would put he'd perm the top and stuff. Yeah. Nigel Benn was the man, and I wouldn't want to see a great man pee on their legacy, and I'm glad that what's happened. Like his shoulders going, and he said he had to get cortisone injections inside his shoulders because it's just not there. And I'm glad that that's happened, because I'm also glad that he tried to come back, and then what was it? The heart was willing, but the flesh was weak. The flesh was weak.
The spirit was willing, but the flesh was weak.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad that he didn't come back because I wouldn't want to see a great champion like him.
I couldn't see what it was going to do to enhance anything from his boxing perspective.
It can't. What can anything that Nigel Benn does now? Yeah. Mm. What could it do? He's saying he's doing it for himself, but you're not actually just doing it for yourself because you have fans that adore you. And the worst thing is that I don't want to see a great man like that get hurt, get injured. Anything can happen, even though you're saying that you're looking for closure.
Yeah, sure. You said many years ago when I was seated with you in a London public house that yes, it's a business, but we have to respect the integrity of the business. Yeah. And I think it comes down to that.
Yeah, and exactly. You know what I mean? But we can roll on, we can move on now onto anything else now.
Brilliant. You're getting good at this. I can tell you've picked up a bit of experience in the old media game since we used to do our little kind of early teething things.
Yeah. 7 years at that place, you know what I mean? It does things for you.
Yeah. I'd like to say, before we move on to the business of Canelo versus Kovalev, I'd like to say a few words about our wonderful sponsors of the show, Buy My Fight. This is something that will be of interest to you, Spencer. Buy My Fight, who are also the sister company of Westbound Logistics, our other sponsor, who I will talk about in future shows. It's not as relevant to the boxing industry, but I will give them the big up that they deserve. But no, they provide an online marketplace for fighters to sell their tickets. Fighters almost everything beneath the superstar level, the Anthony Joshua level, need to sell their own tickets. You know how the industry works. You know how it's evolved. You know the controversy surrounding this issue and people's views on it.
Yeah.
But the reality is we're stuck with it. You have to sell tickets.
Yeah.
And, I know you were a big ticket seller, which was quite unusual for a black fighter from Britain in your era, if that's okay for me to say that.
If you want to try and make me sound that old. But yeah, the difference was this. It was like, because I knew, I was personable.
Yeah.
And I had, but I'm saying, especially then, I was very, very personable. And I was very, I had sponsors as well. But to bang out the tickets, I would frequent pubs, I would frequent bingo halls. Like my mum used to go bingo each week, so all of her friends would come. You know what I mean? I grew up off of the council estate, which was the most, in Kennerton, which was the most multicultural hub of the world. So I had everyone who would come out and support me. So it was kind of, I was very, very fortunate to get the support that I had. But
imagine if you'd had social media. Imagine if you'd had a facility like Buy My Fight.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. So what Buy My Fight are doing, they're facilitating the facility that boxers need, because it is hard for guys to go out and bang out tickets, especially when you're thinking like, there's certain guys we've known who have actually fought for free because of to pay for their opponent,
and then the
even promoter,
for a deficit.
Exactly.
And then,
fight. Right, exactly. And then the promoter's going to take their bit, and then all the rest of it. But if promoters are really doing their job, the essence of the emphasis wouldn't be on the fight to go sell the tickets, because you're a promoter. So then, if I'm self-promoted, then I should get.
And you speak with a bit of authority because you used to be. Of course I do,
because I promoted, and no one couldn't talk to me when I was doing hard knock shows. It was this not being boastful, all the rest of it, but the shows were always sold out. But that's because I had a lot of people back then.
But when people were coming to see you, they were fans of the promoter and his brand. I'm very grateful. And his whole boxing ethos,
But this is excellent. You know what I mean? This is absolutely excellent. 5 stars to these guys, man. I mean, Buy My Fight, just big you lot up, man. I'm going to find you lot on social media and start retweeting you and everything else, man.
Fantastic. Moving on then. In Sin City this weekend, Saul Canelo Alvarez bids for a 4th world title, or a world title at a 4th weight, against the faded, perhaps, but still useful, Sergey Kovalev.
Yeah.
The way we will look at the odds in due course, but I can tell you in advance that Canelo is a fancy betting favourite.
By how much?
We'll look at that in a bit. We'll look at that in a bit. I mean, I've got a plan for that. But your thoughts. How much of a threat do you think Kovalev represents right here, right now?
Well, yesterday I was speaking with Virgil Hunter, and I was also speaking to Tunde Ajayi, who's Anti-Yardi's fighter, came up second best to
back in August
to Kovalev. I don't think it's enough time for Kovalev to. I don't think it is.
I want to talk to you about that. It was a hard fight.
It was a hard fight.
He scarcely lost a round, but the round he did lose, I can't get it out of my head when I start to ponder this scenario.
Right, it was massive.
Despite what a couple of my friends said on Facebook who were insisting it was just a little blip. He was a couple of punches. He was a couple of punches away from being out of there.
Of course he was. And I'm saying, I know how hard Anti-Yard punches.
Well, you sparred him?
No, but I know how hard I've been around him when I've held a bag when he's been throwing shots. And this was years ago when he was first started training with Tunde. I know how hard he hits, and I can gauge it pretty well. And that was then, and he was still a kid then. So I know that he's strong now, or stronger now. I think I rate Kovalev for the certain things that he's done. But Virgil Hunter was swearing blind that he's got Kovalev to win, and he's got Kovalev to win on points. And I'm looking at that, and Tunde's saying Kovalev's going to stop Canelo. But I'm saying...
Oh, Tunde is actually saying Kovalev on this one.
Yeah, he's going with Kovalev. But I can't see it. For the simple fact, where it is...
Yes.
Right? Number one.
So you can effectively rule out getting a points decision against Saul Canelo Alvarez in Las Vegas.
Come on.
Nevada.
Right. I don't want to hear none of that. I mean... Isolande Lara, I thought, beat Canelo.
So did I.
Right?
I thought Cotto... I'm not doing a Canelo bashing bit on this show.
No.
I rate him very highly
he's
as
incredible.
a fighter. And he's really improved. I think he's really improved.
No, he's a better fighter now.
Exponentially in the last 3 years or something like that.
But he couldn't get Danny Jacobs out there, right? He couldn't. Right, I rate Danny Jacobs, but he couldn't get Danny Jacobs out there. I don't think he's going to get Kovalev out there. Right? The thing is, he's also...
I'm really torn on this.
I'm not torn. I've got Canelo winning the fight. For the simple fact that
He's a sacred cow.
Right, exactly. It's not. We're not talking about the Kovalev that came over and bashed Nathan Clever, and everyone's like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And we're not talking about the guy that
Has he? While he may have lost some steps, has he evolved and gained something?
No, but
has he become more the kind of cautious, patient boxer than the seek and destroy machine he resembled back in the Clever era?
I think now he's showing us his boxing ability, but I think he showed us his boxing ability when he fought Bernard Hopkins, and what was that?
That was 2015. 15, just
yeah?
about. Right. It was early 2015.
Right. So. Yeah, I remember the build-up for it was in 2014. I remember Tony Bellew and Cleverly going back and forth over it. So I don't think Kovalev is the fighter that he is. I saw things. Now, we have to be realistic that Anthony Yard, for all his physical attributes and everything else, he's still relatively a baby in this. Yeah. We're not, even though he's a young guy, and Alvarez is not a baby. Alvarez is very, very well seasoned. Yeah. And it's all about the season. He's not a raw novice. Mm-hmm. With incredible talent. Andy Yard's got incredible talent. This man is pound for pound #1 fighter in the world.
Canelo is.
Of course he is. Without a doubt.
Over Lomachenko. Over Terence Bud Crawford.
Well, arguably pound for pound.
You don't have to start retreating from your assertion because you're probably on pretty safe ground when you look at the quality of opposition.
No, he's been come on, man. Look. Exactly. So when you look at it like that, you've got to say to yourself, you know what? This is a calculated gamble on their side, and more so because they saw his own namesake beat him, right? And then he won the rematch, right?
Alvarez, yeah, Ida
Alvarez beat him. Yeah. So they're looking at it, they're weighing up. It's not like, oh yeah, let's go fight the man. Let's go fight the man.
Is this man the least of the three current major world light heavyweight champions? Compared to Beterbiev and Bivol, we had Wojcik until recently. Until
Bivol until Beterbiev beat
him. Yeah,
right. So I'm not saying that because you don't know. I think he's still a danger. Yeah. And he's still like the #1 light heavyweight in the world.
Does this based on perception
based on past victories and things that he's done in the past?
Does so much of it have to do with how motivated Sergey Kovalev is?
No, I think he's motivated. But I also think he's cashing out. And
so that seems like a contradiction.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I think he's motivated to say, right, I'm going to go give it everything that I got. But
I'm not going to be here much longer.
Right, he knows that he's not going to be here much longer, and he's thinking, yeah, I'm going to cash out because you know DAZN's writing that big check, right? Yeah. So he's thinking, well, I'm going to get this big check. I'm going to go out, right? And we also know he's also got personal demons, right?
Let's talk about that then. They say he's a heavy drinker. I don't know that. I've heard it so often.
John David Jackson told Tunde Ajayi that.
He told him he's a heavy drinker.
Right.
And people are making this massive thing at the fact that because he's a heavy drinker and he's depleted his organs to an extent like any alcoholic will do.
I'm just
they say he's going to be vulnerable to the body shots. Everybody's talking about Canelo and the body attack.
But did he not look vulnerable to the body shots when Andre Ward was sticking them in? Don't get twisted. Yeah, Andre Ward's an all-time great.
And he kind of half swallowed it.
Right, he did.
He's not the toughest up here.
Right. So on all of those kind of things, I'm saying, I think what made him get through round 8 with Anthony Yard was when he was hurt by Anthony Yard, in the back of his mind, he was still saying, this is a kid.
Yeah.
Is right? And I think that's what kind of pushed him through.
I think it was part of the belief that an elite fighter who has him in the same kind of disarray, it may not have the same.
But I don't see because like Canelo's talking about he's going to bulk up for this. I hope that he doesn't bulk up for this. I hope that he comes in around about 172.
That's another great point because you mentioned it to me on the phone the other day, and other people have said it. The trouble with that is you may guess to use the.
He guesses out anyway.
After 6 rounds.
Right, he guesses out at 160. Right, he guesses out at 160. Right, this is no disrespect to Rocky Fielding. This ain't a Rocky Fielding you're going in there with, No. All right. The Crusher is a very, very good boxer. Should be given a lot more credit, especially after the Bernard Hopkins win. The Bernard Hopkins win when I started to realize, like, you know what, this guy, because he hit Bernard Hopkins, it's like he threw him on the ground. Right? But he times the shots. Yeah. But I'm saying, like, I just think it's the right time, right place. Canelo's star is so massive. Anything that Canelo does is going to affect the judges. Right? Yeah. Don't get twisted on this. And I don't think Kovalev will be able to set him up. And Kovalev is a very, very good body puncher. So I think
in his own right.
Right. So I think that will slow up Kovalev.
Oh, so you're saying Canelo? Canelo is a very good body puncher.
Canelo's a very good body puncher.
Of course.
A very, very good sharp position body puncher. And I think he'll be able to befuddle and fiddle him to a 12-round points decision.
Let's see what the money men are saying with regards to that scenario. The way this works, Spencer, as I've already said, and I will reiterate, you're not a gambling man, and that is not your thing. But you have Alvarez is a reasonably prohibitive favourite at 1-4. What that means is you'd have to put £40 on to win 10 or £400. Yeah, you know, I'm patronising you at this point.
Yeah, you are, but it's all right.
Your point scenario is a whole lot better at 10-11. You can see that's nearly as good as evens. I don't need to.
So you're not going to win no money on that?
Well, no, but you can. I mean, if you all you need to do is if you want to bet heavy.
So how heavy are we talking? Like I'd have to put like $5,000 on that.
But $5,000 to win $5,000, nearly $5,000.
Win back what? What I win back?
4.5. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that microphone is. Let's go with the informal bit. You've dislodged that a bit there.
It just fell off the back. Don't worry, my apologies, sir.
Okay, as long as they can still hear you, it's all good. Or is it? Cool. I mean, perhaps there'd be a positive flip side to
you never know.
being muted.
You never know.
I've just got the signal that you're good. Okay, to win by KO, Alvarez is 15-8. There's good odds there. You don't fancy that scenario, but there's good odds there. I will break that down in terms of the micro possibilities in a second. The draw is 22-1, which I was talking to Barry Jones last week.
That should be higher. They
always used to be higher on a different basis.
but we started to get draws of recent. So when you start getting them, they're like, what are you?
That would be a fantastic bet. I'll give you a scenario. Suppose Kovalev boxes out of his skin, has that, when they talk about fighters, sometimes have that less great performance in them. I'm not equating him as a great fighter, but you know what I mean.
I think he is though. Give me juice.
So in any case, and he beats Canelo all over the ring for 12 rounds. Yeah. That's when you get on the draw. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I cannot see that. That should be high. I can't see that. But I mean,
Kovalev, Tundi, you said Jai fancies it, Virgil, Hunter fancies it.
Yep.
That's 3-1 on the straight win. You don't have to risk your prediction on whether you think it's going to go the distance or not, or anybody gets knocked down or anything.
5-1 is a good bet,
5-1 to win by KO.
That is a good bet.
But he's got a great chin. He's got a great chin, Canelo, right?
He has got a great chin, but Kovalev does hit hard,
And he is a light heavyweight.
Yeah, and he's
always been a light heavyweight.
Exactly. And he's right. And you don't know, in about round 8, if he's leaning on him as well, rabbit punching, pushing him off. You know what I mean? He throws that thudding. It's like a chopping right hand. You don't know what could happen and come out with that left hook. We don't know. But for the points win, which I can never ever see happening.
Slightly worse than evens. The point. Oh, sorry. For Canelo. Yeah. For the points win for Alvarez is 7-1. It's wide as hell.
Yeah.
And rightly so. Yeah. Logically so. If we look at, if anybody does believe that it will end early, I'd like to look at those scenarios. First of all, the wider scenario of the two halves of the fight, if I can get that image up on the screen. As you can see, Spencer, for Alvarez to finish it in the first 6 rounds, it's 5-1. So it's a pretty good bet, and it's not something I expect to happen. Alvarez in the second half of the fight, which I know a lot of people might be lumping on, is 9-2, which is good odds. It's like 4.5-1 essentially. Yeah. Kovalev in rounds 1-6 is 8-1, and Kovalev in rounds 7-12 is 12-1. So they're both great scenarios on Kovalev. I could micromanage that a little bit further by breaking the fight down into thirds. If we look at that image, you shall see it. Okay, so the first third of the fight, rounds 1-4, for Alvarez to win is 10-1. Once again, it's not something I will be predicting to unfold. Alvarez in rounds 5-8 is 6-1. Alvarez in rounds 9-12 is 7-1. Okay, so that's in that final half of the fight. I quite like the look of that. I'll explain why in a second. Kovalev rounds 1-4 is 12-1. Same thing, Kovalev rounds 1-8. And he is 16-1.
You know what?
Oddly, to win a late stoppage.
I would listen. If you got money, I'd throw it on there because reason
that's
being
what
is
you got. With a gambling ethos, it's not your prediction. But if you were playing the game,
I would throw big money on that. Reason why? Because Canelo gasses in those later rounds, and you never know because you know what? End of the day, we've seen him bite down on his gum shield against a young, fresh, hungry lion. Yeah. Right. So. That seriously, if I was to throw money and think anytime as Kovalev trying to win air, it'd be around about those rounds there. And they're giving 16-1.
From a money perspective, you really like the look of that 16-1
I love the look of it. I love it, my friend. Seriously. Because that's how I see, that's the only way I could see him winning.
Okay, I think that's very sound logic. For my part, I'm really torn.
16-1, Ben.
Listen, I would normally pick Canelo on points.
You'll have a grand on that?
I would, yeah. I would normally put you. You really get your appetite wet now for a non-gambling
Yeah, I
spiritual
know.
man. You're suddenly
I said 16-1.
You're
I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, don't worry, man. I'll go make my atonements over the weekend.
That's all that really matters. Listen, but I'm torn, Spencer. I've got to be honest with you. If it hadn't have been for the Anthony Yarde fight back in August, I would probably go with Canelo on points, which is something that you were feeling until you saw that price suddenly.
Yeah.
But I can't get that 8th round out of my mind when he was a couple of punches away from oblivion. Yeah. And I know he is a relative novice, Anthony Yarde, as good and strong and you know, and as much potential as he has. Canelo is a lot more seasoned, savvy, and a better fighter to begin with the best will in the world. And I don't think he would let him off the hook. I think it might be the right
size
time.
difference though. You don't think that's got something to do with it?
Well, tell me this, Spence. What weight does Canelo? I have friends on Facebook who contend that Canelo comes into the ring weighing cruiserweight, even when he's a middleweight, at 180. Is that actually true? Is there any actual substantiation of that?
I've heard that a lot.
What do you think he weighs in a ring normally in his last several fights? Canelo.
He must come in very big, right?
Seriously. He looks so bulky.
Yeah, he must come in very, very big. And I remember, what was it? When he fought Beefy Smith.
Yeah.
Round in the changing room, Tundi was in the changing room. Yeah. And they kicked him out. Yeah. And this was prior to the weigh-in, when they're going for the weigh-in, because they were all in the same group. Him and Anthony Yarde boxed on the undercard of that fight as well. And he got kicked out. And so Canelo, he struggles. He was struggling to make weight, but you got to think he was struggling to make weight to do
light middleweight.
To do light middle, right? Yeah. Right. That's 11 stone. Now it's got to be totally different now, because you got to think that's a stone and a half above that weight. Yeah. But sometimes it's even worse, because I'm saying to fighters, sometimes you need that. I've got a cut to get down to weight, because that makes you a little bit more sharp, a little bit more disciplined.
Like Ricky Hatton versus Luis Coletto, because he thought he could relax and not kill himself to make 10 stone.
And he was disgusting.
He ended up coming in at 160, which is too heavy, and he understood that. Right. He acknowledged he should have been the same weight he was for his light welterweight fights on the night. You understand?
And it's the same. Was it Gil Clancy used to have all of his fighters, like when
Emil Griffith
stepped
up to fight Dick Tiger.
Dick Tiger. When he did that same thing, he came in more like 150, 151.
Not even Sugar Ray Leonard, when he fought Marvin Hagler, he weighed in at 158. You know, in shorts and a vest.
Exactly.
It wasn't about getting it. It seems to a lot of people have made this observation about the cultural changes in boxing today, and said it seems to be when people talk about advancements in nutrition and training techniques, which are highly contentious and could be debated all day long, but when they talk about that, some of the more old school guys conclude that it used to be about skills and savvy and game plans back in the day.
Lloyd Hunnigan always used to say to me,
it's become about being as big and strong as you can
possibly
be.
Lloyd Hunnigan said it was never ever if he was big enough. Yeah. It was always if he was good enough. Sure. And I'm rolling with that.
And guys like Sam Langford and Henry Armstrong certainly proved that back in the day.
Exactly. You know? And when we look at like even great fighters who we had from our country, who like Ted Kid Lewis, who ran through weights
up to light heavyweight,
fought for world title at light heavyweight. So and this man started off really as a lightweight as a kid, right? And then won the welterweight title. So when we look at that, we're like, bruv, it's your mental. Yeah. It's not am I going to be big enough? And like I'm saying, Andre Ward said the first time when he went in and fought Kovalev, he wanted to look a certain part, but just yesterday, Virgil Hunter was revealing me Andre couldn't run because he damaged his leg. Yeah. So he hurt his knee or something. So he couldn't do a lot of running for that fight. So all of these kind of things, I'm saying, all right then. But the second time out, he said, I don't care what I look like. It's all going to be about the skill. And I please God, I hope that Canelo's not going into this fight saying, I've got to look big, I've got to be nice and strong so I can push him around. And if he focuses just on skill, then this could be an easy night's work for him. But if he doesn't, and he thinks he wants to be this macho man, this big tough man, then trust me, that 16-1, like 9-12, trust me, that's some good odds, brother.
Okay, cutting to the chase. As I said to you, I was torn between Canelo on points, which is 10-11, with Sky Bet, by the way. We're still using Sky Bet odds because they're easy to source. That's the app that I have on my phone. They're not giving us any money, so I'm not going to showcase your odds indefinitely, Sky Bet, but it's just a matter of convenience. At 2 weeks on the bounce, you've gotten this free PR. You know, just pay it forward. That's 10-11 with Sky Bet. But the Canelo in rounds 9, 10, 11 or 12 is 7-1 with the same outfit. And if push comes to shove, I'm going with that. Are you going with the 16-1 on the other guy?
No.
Purely on value?
No,
you're not?
I'm not. I'm going Canelo on points.
You're going Canelo on points?
I can't see Canelo stopping Kovalev. I don't even think that he's going to punch hard enough to stop Kovalev. I don't think Canelo punches harder than Anthony Yarde, and Anthony Yarde was a young lion who had Kovalev going.
Yeah.
Even though Andre Ward, I don't think he's big enough to stop him. I think he's going to outskill him. If you couldn't get Danny Jacobs out there,
yeah,
you ain't gonna get.
When was the last time Canelo stopped an elite rival? It's a little while ago. A really elite rival.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going back almost James Kirkland. Well, was he an elite rival? Was he really an elite rival? I'm going to say Liam Smith wasn't quite. In the bigger picture, there's no disrespect to Liam Smith. Let's try not to offend too many people this week. I've done quite well lately with not falling foul of any.
You're going to get that phone call from Joel Gallagher.
You know that.
Yeah, exactly.
In any case, Spencer. Okay, so Spencer Fearon is going Saul Canelo Alvarez on points.
Yep.
I'm picking the Mexican superstar via late stoppage for 7-1 after round 8.
Okay.
And we shall see soon enough who has an entitlement to regard themselves as Nostradamus in a fistic context.
Barry Jones ain't here, so it's not fair.
It's not fair, with Barry. I wanted to say that I believe me and Barry are now 4-4 with me having pulled his early lead back.
Well, it's cool. It's cool. So you can come back. You can come back, and you can continue your chase. And you know what I mean. And people just look on to the work that you guys are doing, man.
In any case, it was wonderful to have you beside me in this context once again. I will be back next week with another special guest. It's unlikely he will be as loquacious and handsome, but I will do my best. In the meantime, be lucky and keep punching.